Hello, everyone. I have got a gorgeous guest for you all today. Her name is Melissa Vogel, and you're going to love her. She is the host of the Bomb Mom podcast, which I had the honor of being on a few weeks ago. And we had the most amazing conversation. And as soon as we hung up, we're like, oh my God, we need to do this again on my podcast. We've got to continue it. Before I get into all her bona fides, you need to know that she has also just sent off her first baby to college, like me. And she's also a mom of three. She's a single mom and she's just a badass and has a huge heart. And I just needed to have her on the show ASAP. So we're going to get into it. We're like, should we talk about and catch up about our kids going to school, or should we just wait until we hit record so we could share that with all of you? Because I know so many of you listening have taken kids either for the first time or taken them back to college, or these are like your empty nest years or the free bird years are just starting. So there's all the things get wrapped up into the college drop. So we're going to talk about that. But before we get into that, I just want to give you a little bit of an intro of this gorgeous gal, Melissa. She is the operator of Melissa Vogel Fitness. She's a fitness expert with over 20 years of experience, and she's a certified personal trainer and group fitness instructor. And she's the creator of Busy to Bomb Fit Mom. I love the way that sounds. And she helps busy moms get back to being fit through mindset work, vision, and balance combined with proper nutrition and exercise. So, you know what we're going to talk about too a little bit today. And like I said, she's also the host of the Bomb Mom podcast, and she has tons of different speakers and guests that come on to talk about health and wellness and inspiration. And I got to be on there and talking about my favorite topic, that you're not too fucking old to do whatever the fuck you want. So, we had a great conversation. And she's also a model and actress. So she's basically doing everything. And she's fabulous. And we're going to get into all of it today. So, Melissa, thanks for being on the show. And I cannot wait to have another juicy, lovely, incredible conversation with you.
I know. Oh, thank you so much for having me on. You're too kind. Too kind. I'm over here like blushing, kind of sweating now.
Well, it wouldn't be a podcast and we wouldn't be in midlife maybe if we didn't start to sweat
Right?
when we were, doing all these things. But let's start at the top. Let's talk about dropping our kids off. And then we're going to get into your whole entrepreneurial journey, just because I know it's so fresh for everyone,
Mhm.
as we enter the fall season and we are starting to get back to life. So many of our homes are different and we're navigating the world differently with a little piece of our hearts like outside of our homes. So I was like, you're the perfect person to talk to, like my first podcast interview since I did the drop. So how was it for you?
It was interesting. The hardest part was coming back home and walking past her bedroom door. I'm like, oh my God, she's not in there. And I've almost gone up to her door and knocked a couple times and just be like, do you need anything? What do you have tonight? I'm like, oh my God, she's not there. But the actual drop off part, I tried to make it like as fun. I could tell she was a little uneasy, and we unpacked everything, got everything in there. And then we started noticing all like the little things that she has to have. And I don't know about you, but the power was a problem. There was one outlet in a dorm room for three people. Yeah, I'm like, how is this going to work? Luckily, we had brought like a little mini power strip, but it was just nice to like spend that whole day with her. I literally left at like 8 in the morning. I didn't get home till almost midnight. So I was there all day and just helping her unpack and organize and get everything situated. So it felt like very homey, and then we went and got dinner. We got ice cream. Oh my God, this sounds like super cheesy, but we did. We got ice cream. We sat on her bed and ate some ice cream and had that moment, but then it was very, very tearful when it was time to go, because then you're like, okay, I hope I did enough. I hope you're ready. Goodbye. I won't tuck you in tonight. So it's a lot of emotions, a lot of emotions.
And how's she settling in?
It's been rough. I get phone calls all day, every day. And that's one thing I'm hearing from a lot of other moms too. And they're like, I'm talking to my teen now more than I did when they were here. Like before, they're like, yeah, passing by, see on the weekend, they're off doing their thing. And they're like, now we talk every single day for like hours and I can't get them off the phone. And they're like, Melissa, how do we set boundaries in place? And I'm like, I don't know, because I'm doing the same thing. But she's very, very tearful right now. And just, I miss you, mom. I miss my sisters. I miss being home. And she's like, I know I need to do this, but I'm just sad. I'm really sad, mom. So a lot of
Oh,
homesickness. Yeah. How about you?
yeah.
How's your son doing?
So it's interesting because, and I've heard on like in some of these, I'm actually going to bring on some type of a parenting expert. I have somebody in my crosshairs. So we're going to get into this like really deep about what we should be doing because I've heard
Nice.
somebody dropped their kid at school and they were like, yeah, the school psychologist said to not talk to, like, literally drop your kid and then not talk to them for 3 days. And I said, well, am I not supposed to respond? Because actually my son and I are very close. So he sends a lot of the texts and just like, well, I'm doing this, or I have
Yeah,
this class, or I needed to talk to my counselor to, shift things around. I'm like, I'm not going to not talk to my kid. I said, I think that ship sailed. I can see why you'd want to do that. Maybe just kind of rip the band-aid off so they can just start to problem solve and not feel like they miss us so much.
sure.
But anyway, we didn't do that. And I also did the same thing you did. As soon as I was telling you before we got on that, so my son goes to school at Boulder. So my husband and I took him. We stayed for a few days. We did do that thing where you're supposed to just get in and get out. We lingered just to make sure he was okay. And, we also used to live in Boulder. So it was fun for us to be there and kind of
Hmm.
hang out. And we wanted to make sure we got settled. And there's a million, errands to run because we couldn't take everything with us. We had to like shop and ship and all that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So then it was interesting. On the Wednesday, we moved him in. He was like really excited, and you can see it in the pictures and his energy. And then come Thursday, when he met us at the hotel for breakfast, he was just quiet and like not talking. And my husband and I are
Oh,
like, oh shit, like what's happening? And so I'm very, I'm very like, what's that? An empath. And I think we all are as moms anyway. We definitely absorb what our kids are feeling. And he was like, the reality was hitting. He's like, oh wait, you guys leave tomorrow.
yeah.
He's anxious. He used to faint a lot growing up. It was like this, we thought he had a heart problem, but he doesn't. But he has this low-lying anxiety about fainting. And, you've got to drink your water. You've got to do all your stuff. You've got to make sure you're at altitude. And so we're like, oh God. So we just, we spent the day with him. So he spent the whole day with us. Whereas the day before he wanted to kind of hang out with some friends.
Yeah.
And then into the Friday was the same thing. And I was like ticking the minutes. Oh my gosh, I have 2 hours with him. Oh my God. I wasn't saying this out loud, but I was bad, Melissa. And I kept my big black sunglasses on all day because tears were just welling all day. And we were good. We took him, he cried. And that, I think he was shocked by his emotions above it all, even saying goodbye to his sisters. And so they don't know what they don't know. They think, it's going to be great. And
I know.
anyway, long story short, the poor flight attendant, when I got onto the plane, I was fine holding myself together. And as soon as I literally crossed the threshold to get on the plane, it was just the waterworks. And everyone was kind of like, and then people in the aisles looking at me, and I'm like, I don't even care. I just don't even care what anybody thinks of me right now.
Yeah.
Sat down. And then as soon as the plane took off, it was just like, the heaving
Hmm.
sobs. And then I get home and do the thing you did that you're not supposed to do. I went into his room. It was
I
like,
kept the door closed. I didn't go in there.
I went in, Melissa, and he had like glasses of water. Like the room was a
Oh,
disaster, of course, because we had left. And I'm like, I sat in there and I cried and I cleaned his room and made his bed. And I'm like, it was like self-cutting or something. That's what I was doing.
I
So,
know.
I'm, as we record this, we're a week out, but I don't know if this is like for you, but I feel like the emotions grab me out of the blue. I'll be fine. I'll be working. All of a sudden it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's almost like I'm gasping,
Hmm.
like, oh my gosh, he's not here. My girls were feeling it last night for dinner. Like, we made like this chicken and rice, and we know he would come up and eat all the rice, and we'd be like yelling at him because 19-year-old boys eat all the food. And so yeah, it's very interesting.
It is. Yeah, those dinners and not having someone in that seat, it's definitely a loss. And not enough people talk about this. I'm like, why did I not hear about this and what a mother will experience and the child, what they experience when they're gone? And I couldn't imagine going 3 days. Like she needed that security. And I kept telling her, I'm like, once you get into the swing of things, of routine of sports, because she's playing college, ball, and school and classes start and you have mandatory study hall, and I'm like, you're going to feel better, and I knew I'd hear from her less and less, which is a good thing. And it did. It's happening, but I'm like, what chapter was this in the baby book? Because I missed that. Did the pages stick together? Like, what happened?
I was thinking about that exact same thing. It was like the what to expect when you're expecting. I'm like, where's
Right.
the where's it this? Because some mom brought, she sent, because of course we're all reading all the sad posts, and I'm crying watching everybody else's posts of like, because we just all know this heartbreak. No one told us about it. We all knew we'd be
Mm-mm.
sad and there'd be a change, but
Yeah.
it is deep grief. It's a deep grief, and we're saying
It is.
goodbye. And we're saying goodbye to the life that we've had as a family unit. Like it's never going to be the same.
No.
Yeah, they're going to come back and forth, but as we know it, and that day to day is never going to be the same. So we have to grieve that.
And
And
it's an end to their childhood.
yeah.
That's, oh my God.
And it
I'm
was the
gonna
end of
cry.
my childhood too. I'm like, I've never felt like more of a grown up than like dropping my baby off to college.
Right? I
Because I'm like,
know.
I have a kid in college. Like, what? What? So yeah, I'm going to be talking about this a lot probably on this podcast this fall.
You know, and
Because,
I think it's totally okay. I keep bringing it up on my episodes too, and people want to know too. They want to know how she's doing, and I had her on the podcast just before she left. We recorded
oh
an
gosh, I need to listen
episode.
to that.
Oh, it's so good. I had to really convince her to do it because she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, Havana, it's going to timestamp. And then when you come back for Christmas or something, we can do an update and everything. But we talked about how she felt prepared mentally, physically, with sports and mindset and everything. So it was really good. And I'm glad we did that and got to have that time together. But she had a lot of really good things to say. It made me very proud of her. I'm
Oh,
like,
I'm going to listen. I'm going to key that one up and listen. I think it's very special because you having sort of a structured conversation almost like that. Like you probably had this very different conversation than you would if you're just like, hey, how's everything going sitting
totally.
at the counter kind of thing.
She said things, and I just remember looking at her going like, okay, I did not know you thought that. I did not know. She said things, Jen. She was like, I have to keep up with you, Mom. She's like, I'm trying to be, everything I can. And she's like, and I got to keep up with you. And she's like, and I never can't. And I'm like, maybe when I'm 90, you can pass me, but I didn't think she was looking at it that way. And she was talking about how kids don't listen to their parents sometimes. And she's like, I think it's because that kids think that they're better than their parents. And I was like,
Ooh.
really? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, but I feel like I have to keep up with you. She's like, I got to keep trying to get to your level, Mom. And I'm like, I don't know whether to cry or like, did not know you were thinking this. Interesting.
It is interesting to peel back the layers and like
Mhm.
really get in there because yeah, they'll get you with those zingers. Like you never know. Like you probably would have never not known that if you didn't have
No,
that type of a conversation.
she's on me.
Oh, these kids will be okay.
They
You
will. They have
know,
good moms.
that's what everyone says. And I said, and if for some reason they want to make a change, then you know what? Everyone gets to make a change. And
Yeah,
I have no attachment to it. My only attachment is to my kid, and we all want the best for them. So,
I know,
so
right? Breathe.
thankfully, like my son had a great night last night. He went to his first football game and it was amazing and sent
Oh,
photos, the
fun.
whole 9 yards. So now, I'm kind of breathing a sigh of relief. He has almost a week of classes under his belt. So same with my kid. He's like, I need the structure. I need like a routine and
Yeah,
to figure things out. So slowly but surely, because it's this whole new huge world and they're away from us. I'm like,
I
oh my
know.
God. I'm
I
going to
know.
cry a lot more crocodile tears before this is all over. And I know it doesn't get any easier because then I see people dropping their kids off for sophomore year. There's a group chat thing in Facebook for Colorado, and they're like, it doesn't get any easier. Imagine dropping your kid off for their first day of their senior year, and then they're going to move away from you after that forever. You're like, ah. But we can't future trip. My friend Lizzie says we can't pre-grieve about things that
Right.
haven't happened yet.
Right. Very good
Anyway,
point.
okay,
Very
deep
good point.
breaths. Just wanted to
Yeah.
share that because so many of you all listening are going through the same things, and
Yeah.
just know you're not alone. I've cried in many a yoga class. Melissa and I have
What
just
is
gone
it
through
about yoga that just makes it come?
I think I don't know if it's just if it's exercise in general, and I go to heated yoga
Yeah.
too. So there's just so much sweating. So it's like the sweating, the movement, the process, but also
Yeah.
talking to other moms who've just dropped off their kids in the hallway. And then you start to cry before you even go into class.
There it is.
That's a true story that happened too on Monday. I was like, yoga instructor was like, are you all going to come in? I'm like, oh yeah, we need to. We're coming. Don't worry.
In a minute.
We're coming in. We're coming in. We're
Get a
processing.
tissue in there.
Bring some tissues. So I want to dig in with you about all the juicy fitness advice that you have, but I do want you to tell everybody because you are a multifaceted entrepreneur. So just tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to be doing all that you're doing today, because you are doing a lot of really amazing things and you're very inspirational.
Oh, thanks, Jen. Yeah, I do a lot. Where I'm at today and with my program, like Busy to Bomb, Fit Mom, would you say bomb mom and the podcast and everything, that all evolved because of my life hitting rock bottom and having a body and even mindset that like I didn't even recognize anymore. And I thought after my last child, who just had a birthday yesterday, which is kind of crazy because then I'm reliving, like not reliving, but like thinking about her birth. And I always tell the kids their birth story on the day they were born on their birthday. So I had to like go over all that yesterday. But after her, I just didn't understand like, why isn't my body doing what I want it to do? Like, I've done this before and it was so easy when I was 20, like all these things. And I had to truly relearn everything about myself, how I thought, how I spoke, how I trained, how I ate, everything. And I kept seeing that like, this is not working. And I literally was on like my basement floor because I'm from Michigan. So we had basements and I was doing P90X. And yeah, not what you do after you've had 3 kids and you're trying to like get back in shape for the first time again. And I was doing mountain climbers where you're like on your hands and knees and you're running your knees into your chest and you're kind of like in a plank position. And I kept hearing like this or feeling like this tapping noise. And I'm like, what is that? And I realized it was my stomach hitting the top of my thighs.
Oh,
And I was like, I had like loose shorts on and just a t-shirt, and I was down there just pushing myself. I was punishing myself is what I was doing. And I could feel it. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Oh, I am not the mom that has that kind of stomach. Like what? And my baby was not a newborn at this point. She was probably like 8, 9 months, but still. And I'm like, I just cried. I just collapsed to the floor. I was still breastfeeding. So now breast milk is just flowing. And I'm like, what happened to me? What am I doing right now? Why am I forcing this and punishing myself? And I'm like, what needs to change? And I just had this whole like aha moment. And I'm like, that's it. I'm going to relearn everything. I'm going to pretend I don't know everything that I know. I'm just going to forget it. And now I tell that to my clients. I need you to forget everything you think you know about your body and health and fitness. We'll use some of it, but be open to learning everything new. And then I started tweaking everything. I started adding mindset to my journey. I started adding journaling and therapy and eating in a completely different way and switching from like cardio to weights and what did I need to tweak? And I literally have like binders of like my notes and my journal and what I did. And I took all of that and then created my program. And everything I did too, as I was creating, because I was personal training too. And that was like what I did for years. And then I started applying some of the stuff I was doing with my clients. I'm like, we're going to train a little bit different. Am I going to charge you more? I'm just going to like start tweaking things and doing things. And their lives started changing. I'm like, oh, okay. My whole life just needs to flip in my business here because I have something now that's literally life-changing for women. And I can't just work with someone who lives in my neighborhood or in the same city as me. How do I work with the mom over in Ohio while I'm in California? And that's how it was born. And my whole business was born. And it's taken me years to tweak it and refine it and figure it out. But I'm like, I know that if you speak to a mom and you can help her overcome her mental hurdles as well as her physical hurdles and her nutritional hurdles, you can change it for life and have results that'll last for life.
ooh, that is juicy.
Mhm.
Um, and I love that you turned, one of your sort of problems and quests into a business because you studied it and you put the time
Mhm.
in. You didn't you didn't just go, okay, I'm going to do this overnight. You put in the time and the effort and had all that self-reflection and inquiry. I love it. Okay, so the women listening to this are midlifers like us. And you know what I'm going to ask? Perimenopause, menopause. So if childbirth does one thing to our bodies, going through menopause does another thing. As well as we just start to lose, what is it, the bone density, like
Oh, that
we just
collagen, tissue,
it just
elastin.
everything starts to change. Jackets that used to fit don't. It's funny, like everyone's heard me say this before. In one of my yoga classes, my instructor said to me, she's like, Jen, did you get a boob job? I'm like, no, it's like menopause. Like something happened, like my boobs got bigger. But you're used to kind of being in your new normal, like after childbirth, like
Yep.
now you've reset and done whatever. And now you hit this new phase and you know what was working. And I really want you to get into this. What was working for you in your 20s and 30s ain't going to work for you 40s,
No.
50s, and beyond. and we're all stressed and we're time starved because everything's colliding with work and getting kids out the door. We have aging parents. We just have a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do we do? Like, what are the top things that we do in midlife to stay healthy and fit? Because we're looking at the long game now. Like, we want to live till we're like 100.
Right. One of the first things to not do is lay down and die. And I think we see so many women hitting this stage of life and they look a certain way, they feel a certain way, and they act a certain way because they just accept it. And I think we get a lot of those lessons, programmed in our brain from our mothers and our grandmothers. And we just watch them go through it and they didn't do anything about it. And then I even heard the message of like, welcome to your 50s, well, like this is just how life is, or welcome to being 40, or welcome to being a mom. Like I got all these programming of like, this is just the way your life is, and this is how it is for me, and this is how it's going to be for you. And I clearly remember being at like a Thanksgiving dinner or something, and all my aunts are standing around the counter with me, and they were like poking at me like, oh, well, you're so skinny because you haven't had kids yet. Just wait. You just wait, Melissa. You're going to have a gut like us. And I was like, the hell I will. And I'll never forget that moment that I was like, no, I won't. And then I slowly turned into that. And then I was like, I promised myself that day. But that's the first thing is like, know just how you were saying, like, you're not too fucking old. You're not too fucking old to continue to have a smoking body. And people just accept that. And I'm here to continuously get that message out that you don't have to accept that. So one, flip your mindset. First thing you can do is you have to flip that mindset and be open to being the first woman in your family to change it. I am the first woman in my family to live a healthy, fit life and be out there rocking a bikini. I never saw my mom in a bathing suit, not once. And she wasn't even like gross and disgusting. Like it was just all self image issues and body, dysmorphia a little bit. And it doesn't have to be that way for us. It's really important that women start seeing the value of lifting weights too. I do yoga once a week. Actually, I do yoga pretty much every day, mini sessions, but like I do a really good session once a week at least. Try to do two if I can. It was something I never did when I was younger. And I didn't make it a priority. I'd do it because it was like cool. Let's all go to yoga and carry our mats. It was like cool to do. It didn't serve the purpose that it does now. But I do cardio very rare. And I used to do only cardio. I used to think if I don't sweat, it doesn't count. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even break a sweat. That totally didn't even count. And that's a lie. And I had to reprogram my brain around that because sometimes I can have a killer leg day and I didn't sweat a whole lot and I can't walk the next day. So we have to flip that mindset. But lifting and putting muscle on your body is what is going to save you through perimenopause and menopause, because you are constantly going to be fighting your body's design to want to just add fat, add fat, add fat. Well, I always tell my people, fat can't live where muscle grows. If you are continuously expanding and growing that muscle, fat's going to go. There's no space for us here. There's no room for us here. And the more you're lifting and doing that, you're changing the chemicals in your body. Now, it's not a fix and end all be all, but it's something that we have to start wrapping our brain around, that this is how you move forward. This is how you make changes that are going to last you for life. It's not cardio. It's not all the classes. It's not the elliptical machine. That's a huge thing. And also giving yourself time and space and paying attention to, if you still do have a period, where you're at with your cycle, and giving yourself that time to calm your central nervous system, to be present, to breathe, to meditate, to journal. And I know women listening will be like, I don't have time for that. That's too much. I don't have time for any of that. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to keep your cortisol levels spiked and age yourself very fast, never take time for yourself. Keep your central nervous system just on like alert all the time, and never having that downtime.
Oh, you're reminding me of a story of this was when I was like in perimenopause. I don't know, it was like 7, 8 years ago. it was kind of right when Orange Theory was popping up all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And where I lived at the time, there was a bar method studio. That's what I was doing. I'm like, I'm going to try this Orange Theory. And I'm like, it was the exact wrong thing for me because I'm too competitive with myself. Like I was trying to kick my own ass at like 7:30 in the morning. And you know, those workouts and they're so intense and it's loud and it's
Yeah.
like you're on the treadmill, then you're on a rowing machine, then it's getting yelled at to do planks and push-ups and this and that. And I would come back like the opposite of what you're supposed to feel at a workout, like energized and all, but I was depleted. And everyone was feeling this way, needed to take a nap. Friends were like, they're eating more. Like, I'm eating more because I'm going to Orange Theory. And I actually talked to my naturopath because I felt like I was gaining weight. I was like, is it possible for exercise to make you gain weight? And she was the first one who told me about the cortisol and all of that and how our bodies change because I was always like a runner. I was always like to your point, a
Mm-hmm.
cardio person. And that doesn't work anymore in your 40s and beyond because you're just spiking that cortisol. Your body thinks it's in fight or flight. And she's like, and it's hanging on to every little morsel of fat that it can grab onto. And that was life changing for me because I always thought like, the more I sweat, the more I put in, the more I
I
sort of
know.
killed myself, the better it was all going to be. And it was totally draining and it had the absolute opposite effect. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, everyone's busy. People can barely get out to do a class or go on a walk. What are some things that we can all do on a daily basis that'll have like the max impact, maybe on like a short period of time?
Oh, hands down, walking. 100%. If you create space to walk every day, even if it's 20 minutes, I mean, I'd prefer longer, like 45, and like really give yourself a chance to get in a groove, maybe get into a little fat burning zone, burn off sugars that you're eating, stuff like that. Great. But even just 20 minutes a day, it's that daily activity. It gives you a chance to reset, be outdoors. I mean, if you have to do it on your treadmill, you have to do it on your treadmill, but I'm all about being outdoors. Vitamin D, if we can, exposing our eyeballs to light is huge. And people just they write that off and they don't see the power in the walk anymore. And they're like, oh, does it really matter? Like, that's not what's going to make me skinny, or I don't have time for it. Well, you have time to not do it. How much longer do you think that you can just go, 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 go and never do a reset? But making a walking schedule and committing to that every single day, rain or shine, maybe you have to take an umbrella one day, maybe you have to bundle up and it starts, snowing out or whatever. It also gets your brain in the mode of, I do this no matter what. And that's super important because guess what? If you really do want to hit goals and you do really want to be smoking fucking hot when you're older, you have to do a lot of shit when you don't feel like it. And if you don't have the practice of doing hard things, even when you're not motivated and you don't feel like it, you're going to fail. The old you is going to continuously drive your bus. You have to train a new you to take over. And the power of a walk, it's like, I got to walk because this is what I do. And you're practicing showing up no matter what, putting yourself first, not going to bed until like, nope, I got to get that walk in because I said I was going to do this to myself. And we lie to ourselves all the time, all the time. I'm going to start tomorrow. Oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to show up. And then we don't. And our bodies and our minds get used to that, you know, um, is she really like, oh, she's just lying. And we don't see that connection. And we have to get our mind and our body to trust ourselves again and really stop lying to yourself. And I've done a couple podcast episodes on that topic, and women are always like, holy crap, you're right. I didn't even realize I was lying to myself. And I'm like, well, you would never lie to your kid every day. What would happen if you told your kid, we're going to go to the park today? We're going to do this today. I'm going to take you shopping every single day. And then you never do it. Your kid would never trust you. They would never believe you. That relationship would go to hell in a handbasket. But we think we can get away with it ourselves. Oh, I'm going to do that this year. I'm going to do that this year. Oh, I'm going to go. And then we never do it. The relationship to ourself goes to hell in a handbasket too.
Oh, I never really thought about it that way. And you brought up a good point too about sort of the lies that we tell ourselves and what we've also been told. I wanted to talk about that too, of just how our mothers were or our grandmothers, and just that, oh, you're gonna da da da. Like, yeah, it's literally all gonna go to shit basically after you have a baby. And it's really gonna go to hell once you hit menopause. And again, it's it's changed. There's so many narratives to change about women in midlife, but that's one of them, that we can't be hot, we can't be vital. And even from like the exterior, because that's just one small aspect. We want to be strong because that's going to carry us into a vibrant rest of our lives. But you know what? I will say it, like, I am turning 55 in a few months, and hello, like, sometimes it can stop you dead in your tracks going, oh my gosh, wow, 55, like, how'd that happen? And then my kids, this is their way of like complimenting me. They're like, Mom, you're going to be how old? What? They're like, they kind of do this thing like hashtag strong genetics or whatever. I'm like, yeah, my parents are healthy, but I take that as their compliment, but I don't sit on my ass and shove my face filled with chips. Like, I'm very conscious. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect at all, but I do make a conscious effort. And I'm actually trying to get my husband on this conscious effort as well, because we all want our partners and our friends to also be healthy, to be with us in our later years. So
Yeah,
the mindset, I think the mindset is like the biggest mind fuck thing of all of it, because
it
it really
is.
comes down to our mind, right? So the one thing that you mentioned that's really huge is the mindset, because we can, well, and like I like to tell people too, is there are other aspects of our life. When you put your mind to something, you got it. But for some reason, when it comes to our own growth, or especially our own fitness, because of all the stuff that we've been told as a society of how we should be, how
Yeah.
we should look, how we should just kind of crawl into the closet, that it's sometimes near impossible. Like, we don't even know that we're like, I'm going to use the word like mind fucking ourselves, like, out of it. Like, why can't we be healthy and strong? Like, I love seeing, when I see people send me things all the time of some like 85-year-old woman like winning a race, or like swimming some channel somewhere, or picking up surfing. I mean, we can do whatever we want, but the mind, I'm sure with you and all your clients, it's the mindset thing, right? Because you have all the tools. It's like, follow a plan, kind of eat this way, and things will work. But let me ask you
Mhm.
this question. It's kind of going on a little tangent. Do you think that there's some fear of success and looking good wrapped into this also? Like, that just came to me. I'm wondering if that's a thing.
100%. 100%. The fear of just being different, right? Because we thrive in tribes. Humans are designed to be a part of a community. We want to fit in. We want to be a part of what everyone else is doing. It's just in us. It's just how we are. It doesn't make you weird or like a follower or whatever. It's just how we're designed, right? So to be someone that's different and to be hot as fuck, and you are past 40 or 35 or 50 or like whatever the age number that is, and that's one of the things that I really focus on with my clients is like, you are in a sea of white sheep. Are you okay with being the one and only black sheep? Because that's what's going to happen. And no one talks about this in the fitness industry. And all my clients are like, never even thought of this before. Never thought that, oh my God, I'm becoming the black sheep. Sabotage, sabotage, retreat, retreat, eat more, go to the gym less. And they self-sabotage because they didn't see that this was a thing really happening. And they're like, we blame it on, oh, well, my kid started sports, so that's why I stopped going to the gym. So that's one thing that I'm constantly talking and preparing my clients about is that, are you okay with being the black sheep? Are you okay, the more fit you get, really standing out from other people and not sabotaging it, being okay with that mom that's in cutoff jean shorts or a crop top or wearing a bikini. I have so many stories of like, as I changed, as I got different, and got more fit and started to not look like everyone else, it really makes people uncomfortable. And they say things to you like, oh, well, I guess Melissa's not going to have this. We're all just going to be the fat ones eating it, like, and like poking at you. So there's so many times in different stories that I have where I had to really put into practice, like being the different person. And was this one time I was at a pool party. Everyone's like, bring your kids over. And I get there and it's hot. It's, Southern California. It's 100 plus degrees out here and everyone's wearing cover-ups. And I'm like, screw this. And I take mine off. And that upset a lot of people. And I'm like, but this is ridiculous. We're hot. Why can't we get in the pool and swim with the kids and take off, these blankets we're wearing? And everyone's like, oh my God, look at your stomach, look at this, and poking and saying things. Some were kind, but most of them, it was very negative words. And then they would say things about themselves, and be well, I'm not standing next to you. And there was a picture taken one day at one of the parties or gathering or play dates. I don't know, whatever we did, got together. And I'm on one. At one of them, someone took a photo, like a group photo, and no one would stand next to me. And one of the photos that was taken, she posted it up on Facebook or social media or something, and they cropped me out. They literally
Ooh.
took me out of the picture, and I saw it and I was like, hold on, I was there. Actually, I was standing next to her and they took me out. And ouch, right? But I am so glad that I've gone through that and I've experienced that because I now have the knowledge to help other women get through that. And I can see when they're starting to have self-sabotaging behavior that I'm like, girl, no, you're just getting really fit and it's getting really uncomfortable. And people are saying things to you and you're trying to go back to the old you because the old you is comfortable. Like, are you truly okay with being the first multimillionaire of your family? Are you okay with truly being that really strong, fit, in shape 45-year-old woman? And everyone's like, yeah, I totally want it. Yeah, I do. And that's why mindset goes hand in hand with fitness. And this is something people just don't talk about. And a lot of people probably don't even know that, hey, you need to start programming your brain and your mind and really get this woman comfortable.
It's I feel like this is something that happens with any woman who wants to change anything, because we talk about it a lot in business. So the number one
Yes.
fear, it's being seen and being judged and caring what people think. And I say it all the time.
Yeah.
And you're talking about from the fitness lens, and I talk about from the just standing in your power and being visible to go out and get what you want. And then it's the people that know you one way kind of want to keep you that in that one way, or it's upsetting to them and they don't even realize that they're being threatened by, because it's just shining a light. If it's getting fit, if it's starting a business, dating, hiking Kilimanjaro, whatever it is, it's just shining this light back, which should be informative to you. You should always take it as information of like,
Right.
why am I being so triggered? And it's because you're not doing probably something that you want, or that person's doing what you want to be doing. So it has nothing to do with you, but it's really hard because I think you mentioned this too, like we're all supposed to be part of this tribe. And when you kind of get out of it, and then there's the whole generational thing. And if your family's been one way and you're the one who's going to come in and blow it up and do something differently, move away from the pack, it's upsetting to a lot of people. But the beauty is, and I'm sure you see it with your clients, is that you find some new people to then bring in and to support you. And it's not that people don't love you or whatever. They're probably, I venture to guess, like a lot of these people don't even realize that they're doing it. And I've had so
No.
many things said to me, and my listeners have heard it. And you would hope that, like in our 40s and 50s and beyond, we're not being mean girls and like doing all this crap anymore. But it goes in that deep programming and the way, that tribe mentality of keeping everybody the same and keeping, and also we're also staying safe. And if we're safe, we're in our same routines and not making any changes. Right. I just heard
Right.
that on a podcast, like evolutionarily speaking. So if we step out of that, it rattles the cages, but then there's all this beauty on the other side of it. So
Mm-hmm. Well, and
I don't know. That's a big, deep, we could talk about just that for 2 hours.
I know. And the thing is, with your health and your fitness, your success shows on the outside. Whereas like with business and stuff, people don't know if your bank account's growing or if you're really successful or whatever. Like you still got to learn that and walk the walk, and to grow through all that. But like with your body and your fitness, you wear that. You start dropping 10 pounds on a woman, boom, everyone's going to notice. So that's one of the biggest things when you're talking about like your health aspect and your weight and your muscle, like everyone sees it. So people
Everyone
talk
sees.
very fast.
Yeah. And you can see with those, like, you're like, oh, you look great. You're like, that's that veiled thing. I've seen it happen a million times, overhearing conversations with people at different, places. I'm like, oh my God. I'm so crazy happy when I see somebody hitting fitness goals, or great, you did a handstand today in yoga or whatever. And that's the truth. I see so many amazing women around here who are like lapping up the floor around like these 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds that come into yoga. So I'm like,
I
let's
love it.
take one for like the midlife ladies here. There's so much to dig into there. But before I let you go, I want to just get a couple bits of information from you. Like, what should we be eating? I hear about protein. We've talked about this on the show. It's really hard to eat whatever they say. What is it, like your body weight in protein or something to help you build
Yeah.
muscle? Is that true?
Yeah. Aim for 100.
Okay.
The keep it simple, right? Yes, you want to really focus on and prioritize protein, 100%. Every time you sit down at a meal, the first thing you should be asking yourself is, how much protein is this? Where's my protein? So if you're sitting down at a meal and you're eating a salad and carrots and like, I don't know, pasta, awesome. Where's your protein? And make it really easy. 25 grams each meal. Okay. And I say aim for 100 because if you fall short and you hit 80, 75, you're still doing really good. Like aim for the moon. If you miss, you're going to hit a freaking star. Like kind of have that mentality around it. But if you have 25 grams at each meal and then a good snack, a shake, just something in between, you're going to hit it. Now, if you don't know how much protein you're currently eating, that's a great starting place. Track, figure out, just add it up. You don't have to get psycho about it and track every single calorie. Start with just protein. How much am I having a day? Because if you're like, oh, I heard this podcast and Melissa said to eat 100 grams and your daily intake right now is like 30 and you start pushing for more, you're going to feel real sick. You're going to be pushing your body to do something that it's not ready to do. So slowly add and increase, but you have to know where you're at in order to start somewhere, so pay attention to that. And also pay attention. One of the biggest things that I did is like, I ate super healthy, right? Like my bread was always not non-GMO or organic. And my meat was always like nitrate free and like everything. I always paid attention to ingredients and stuff. And it was like super important. And we ate very healthy. We still do. But I had to learn really quick that like eating healthy to be healthy is one thing, but then eating lean to keep body fat low and muscle high is a whole different game. And we can talk like a whole nother podcast just on that. But you want to be getting full off of the right foods and that are going to be at a less caloric value and more nutrient dense. So just an example of like, what the hell is she talking about right now? Spaghetti night at my house. Love it. Kids need it. I don't need to sit down and eat a whole plate of pasta. So I steam broccoli. That is my base. Carbs, 100%. So much nutrition. And then I put my meat and my marinara on top of it. And that is how I eat spaghetti night. I'm not making 2 meals. It's all one. And I'm getting really full at a very low caloric intake. That's how you eat to be lean, not just to be healthy. And then I have room for like the feta on the top and the salt and like any other sides or whatever, because I didn't blow 750 calories on a plate of spaghetti. I have a lot of room to play. And when you are smart like that, then you have room to add in like dessert and stuff too. And you're just feeding your muscles and everything. But always ask, how much protein is at this meal? And am I eating this because it's healthy, or am I eating this to help me hit a certain goal and to be more lean?
I think that's really helpful information. And what's interesting too, and maybe sort of on the final fitness realm questions, when you are, because I know a lot of women listening, myself included, we still have kids at home. I have daughters who watch me, and they started saying something to me, which I had to stop them. They started calling me almond mom. And it's simply because I don't eat the level of food that they eat, but I try to tell them that I'm not a 17-year-old. I'm 54. I don't eat. If I ate the same as you, it wouldn't be a good situation.
Yes.
And so I eat how I eat. And so it's become this thing. And it's like, I don't sit around, if anybody doesn't know what almond mom means, it just means that moms sit around and eat almonds all day and like don't eat any food. And I definitely eat, and they don't see me, but I had to stop them because that's also, I'm like, you guys, it's disempowering. We never want to talk to people about what they're eating and how they look and all that kind of stuff, but they're all wrapped, and that's the sad thing about our culture is everyone's so wrapped up in all this stuff. Right.
Yeah.
So it's eating to stay healthy. And also knowing that, well, when my son was living in the house, he was eating the most of anybody. He was eating twice as much probably as my husband because he's 19 and he lifts weights, and that's what 19-year-old boys do. And so it caused like this weird, like who's eating what and doing what. And anyway, but maybe if there's some advice for all of us of how we can maybe even have conversations with our family about how we eat. And it's not because we have eating disorders, it's because we're eating exactly how you're saying, to be healthy and to be lean. And we're also older and we don't require as much energy as the teens.
Exactly. And well, you don't want them to look at that and be like, oh, so as I get older, I eat less, or in order to look like mom, I eat less, or mom eats less, so I eat less. Like, I love that you're having that communication with them and explaining that to them, because if we don't, the kids are left to just fill in the blanks on their own and write their own stories. So that communication piece right there is huge, but you have to tell your kids and talk to them like, I'm eating this because I just read the ingredients and this is why, or like pasta night. My kids know that now, but they know because mom's body is different. Same conversation as you. I don't need to go and sit at a whole eat a plate of pasta, but you guys do. And you just got done with sports and you have sports all day tomorrow and your metabolism is different than mom's. So I need to eat. I need to eat a lot of food, just the right things, So it's all about communicating with them and never using the words diet, fat. Like, for the longest time, fat was the F word in my house. Like, if someone said it, it was like, oh, they just said the F word. Like, it was so bad that when my daughter went to kindergarten, they started learning 3-letter words. She came home and said, Mom, the teacher wrote the F word on the board. And I'm like, what'd she write? And she's like, it was the F and then with the A and the T after it. And I'm like, honey, bless your heart. I'm like, yes, she did write that F word on the board, didn't she? But I'm like, what did she write? But that's how much program they were of like, we don't use that word, And now kids have their own words that don't even make sense that are referring to being fat. But it's just all about having that conversation and explaining to them, I'm eating this because of this, or I need to eat this much protein because I need this much muscle. And your bodies are changing every year that you get different after every baby that you have. And like, that's okay. So don't ever think like, I always tell them like, what you eat now is fine for the season and then it'll change. And that's okay. That's how we're supposed to evolve and change and grow and live our best life.
I think this is a really important conversation because, like I said, so many of us have, young women in our homes, and we all know eating disorders, just social media. It's so fraught. And I hear my girls like they're more conscious of what they're eating. And before we got on this morning, I was telling you the kids were running in and out. They had a late day, and then, hey, mom, look at my healthy thing that I packed. I'm like, that's great. It was funny. I told her yesterday, I'm like, did you put protein on your Caesar salad? But I'm just acutely aware because we know the kids, they watch you, right? And they watch what you do. So it's just reminding me too that I need to sit and have another conversation. I'm just going to use you as I interviewed this wonderful woman today, and I just want to explain to you like why I eat the way I eat and why daddy shouldn't be eating some of the stuff daddy's not eating, because we need to do a little overhaul now that summer's over. But it's just so important because these kids will look at you and it's like what I'm eating now. Again, sports, metabolism, you're 17. You guys need all this stuff. I don't.
Yep.
I don't.
And
so
if we're not telling them, they will fill in the blanks or they will follow and find someone to gather information from. And we know that's not safe. No. We don't want them getting their information from anyone else. I want them to get it from me. And it's another part of my why and what makes me train and work out the way I do, because I want my kids looking up to me, not someone else.
Yeah, we don't want them being raised by the internet.
No, ma'am.
No. All right, I've got a couple final questions for you because we could talk about so many things for so long. We truly could. What do you think the best thing is about being in midlife?
I love how freaking smart I am now. Like, I can navigate anything. I don't crumble and die. I feel like when something would happen when I was younger, I'd be like, oh my God, like, and it was like learning through all that. And now I look at things and I'm like, okay, is this fact or is this feelings? Am I responding out of emotion? Is this their baggage or is it mine? And I'm so freaking smart now because of all my years of experience and motherhood and going through a divorce. And I can look at things and I can be like, that's your problem. That's not my problem. I can release that now. Look at these brains I have. And I don't have to waste my time and emotions and energy on things that aren't mine anymore. And that just comes with life experience. So very happy with that.
I love that. And I love claiming that you're so freaking smart because guess what? You are. We've been around the block a couple of years, so we know a few things. We know a few things and just stand in that. Not care what people think. I love that. All right. So everybody finishes the sentence and it's in your nice little shout out to everyone to get them going wherever they're listening to this. So you're not too fucking old too
You're not too fucking old to be bomb. And bomb can mean whatever you want it to mean. That could be a Victoria's Secret bombshell. That could be bomb and powerful and explosive. However you want that to look for you in your life, know that you are not too fucking old to be bomb.
Ooh, I love it. What a powerful way to end. Because I was hoping you would say something like that because it's the damn truth. So where can we find you, support you, get more into your world, and learn how to be more bomb?
Yes, my podcast is Bomb Mom. My website is it's melissavogelfitness.com. So everything on social media is it's Melissa Vogel. So you'll find me on Instagram and TikTok and all the good places by it's Melissa Vogel.
And we'll link all that in the show notes. Melissa, it has been so much fun chatting with you again for a second time. We're going to have to stay in touch and talk about our babies and like see how
Absolutely.
everybody's doing. And
Yes.
thank you for sharing your expertise with everybody. And we know we've got our marching orders. Got to go on a walk. Got to lift some weights. We got to eat some
Yes.
protein
Yes,
and
ma'am.
change our mindsets. And then we'll
Work
be
on
all
that
good.
mindset.
Be all good. Well, I hope to see you really soon. But it's just been so much fun chatting with you today.
Me too. Thanks, Jen. Thanks for having me on.